Good afternoon. This is the City of New Ulm Annual Public Informational Meeting on the city's Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. It's 4 p.m., April 12th, 2017. The purpose of the meeting is to present and discuss the city's Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. The Assistant City Engineer, Joe Stadheim, will go through an agenda and a PowerPoint presentation, and then we will take any comments from the public.
Okay, thank you, Steve. As Steve said, I'm Assistant City Engineer Joe Stadheim. I'll walk you through today's agenda and the presentation that we have prepared for you today. So the agenda today is we'll give an introduction and background of our city stormwater program. We'll give a 2017 program update. We'll look at what we're doing in 2017 and where we plan to go beyond there. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll read any written comments and questions, and then we'll take any oral statements and questions from those in attendance. So what is a SWPPP, or a Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan? It is a plan that identifies potential sources of pollution, describes practices to be used to reduce those pollutants, and helps to assure compliance with permit terms. The City of New Ulm is a MS4 regulated community, and MS4 stands for a municipal separate storm sewer system. We obtained that permit in 2007, and we are required to have a permit along with a stormwater ordinance with the SWPPP to conform to the Federal Clean Water Act. The current permit went into effect in April of 2014, and we have current permit coverage until July 31st of 2018. And at that time, we'll have to reapply for our permit from the MPCA. So we originally adopted the stormwater ordinance in December of 2008. And recently, in August of 2016, we updated that ordinance to meet current design standards and guidance from the MPCA. Together, the permit and the ordinance combine to give city staff guidance and procedures to keep pollutants out of the stormwater system and from entering the Cottonwood and the Minnesota rivers. So how do we prevent stormwater pollution? The general term for those are BMPs, or best management practices, and there's two types of best management practices. The first are structural BMPs. Those are things such as stormwater ponds, rain gardens, rain barrels. Anything that's an actual physical object is a structural BMP. Non-structural BMPs are properly disposing of yard waste, not blowing grass clippings into the street. They're actual practices that can be used by residents of New Ulm to help keep our stormwater clean. So the city stormwater permit outlines 6 minimum control measures to help us progress in preventing stormwater pollution. Those 6 MCMs are public education and outreach, which we're doing a portion of today, public participation and involvement, which we are also doing today, illicit discharge elimination, construction runoff control, post-construction management, and the last one is pollution control and housekeeping. And I'll walk through those MCMs a little bit more in detail. So public education and outreach, MCM number 1. So we distribute educational materials and perform outreach activities to inform citizens in New Ulm about the impacts of polluted stormwater runoff and how that affects our water quality. So every year we send out a utility bill flyer. In the past it's been responsible lawns for healthy rivers, and we've done flyers on illicit discharge, detection, and elimination. We perform staff training with all city and PUC staff that are outside staff. And we really focused this year's training on illicit discharge, detection, and elimination. I'll go into that a little more in depth in a couple slides here. We send out contractor and business updates, just permit reminders, any updated techniques or technology to help with stormwater protection. We work with a South Central Stormwater Coordinator group, so other municipalities in our area. We get together, bounce ideas off of one another, and share resources that each of us use. Some communities involved in that are Hutchinson, Mankato, North Mankato, Waseca, Otana, Worthington, and Marshall. And then we also perform the annual meeting, which we are doing today. So public participation and involvement, how do we do that? That's pretty self-explanatory as we reach out to the public to get input and to educate them as well. So we solicit input on our stormwater pollution prevention plan at the annual meeting today, and then we also have this SWPPP, or the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan, available at all times on the city website for residents to examine and look at and educate themselves. So illicit discharge elimination, it's MCM number 3. The purpose of this is to develop a plan to detect and eliminate illicit discharges. So what exactly is an illicit discharge, you might be wondering? Anything that is not clean stormwater that enters the storm sewer system and ultimately into the rivers that surround us is an illicit discharge. So anything that's petroleum products, oil, antifreeze, gas, grass clippings, leaves, sediment from construction sites, anything that that clean stormwater absorbs and continues to take with it on its point of discharge is an illicit discharge. Other examples are pet waste and things of that sort as well. So how do we go about detecting this and eliminating it? First step is educate our city and PUC staff. If we can be good role models for the citizens of New Ulm, it's easier for us to enforce those actions as needed against contractors or residents and any other normal day activities that come up. So we try to incorporate illicit discharge investigation into everyday activities. So when we inspect our structural BMPs out in the field, we look for signs that there might be something going on. If there's oil sheens or if there's odd staining on any of our outlet pipes or outfalls, it lets us know that something is going on that we need to investigate further. So in 2016, we investigated 2 complaints. We received those in the engineering office here at City Hall, and we followed up on them and acted on those complaints. Most of the time it's just educating the residents or the contractor, whoever it may be, of what they should and should not be doing. So we had very good follow-up on those enforcement actions that we had. The picture on this slide shows obviously some tracking coming from a construction site. That's the type of stuff we want to avoid, as ultimately it enters the storm sewer system. It gets on motorist vehicles and just creates a mess for everybody involved. So that's the stuff we're after, and we want to avoid that. So construction site runoff control, it kind of ties into that last picture. MCM number 4 is utilizing the stormwater ordinance and our city permits to enforce sediment and erosion control measures on construction sites. So we have city staff that are certified by the MPCA to perform construction site inspections, and then those staff members then in turn train our city and PUC staff on a yearly basis. So we track these with stormwater permits. In 2016, we had 24 permits, which resulted in 357 site inspections. We try to get to the sites at least once a week, and then that increases with rainfall events. So if we have large rainfall events, we try to check the sites more frequently. So of those 24 permits, 5 of those were large site. Large site permits are anything greater. Back in 2016, those were anything that were greater than 10,000 square feet. And then we had 19 small site permits. So a small site would be like a home or a garage or something of that size. And that is 12 less permits than we had in 2015. Out of those 357 site inspections, we only had 25 enforcement actions. And those were all verbal warnings, whether it be repairing a silt fence or a wood chip berm that was damaged or needed to be touched up, or maybe street sweeping. So when we can stick to verbal warnings and the contractors have good compliance from those warnings, I feel like everybody's doing their job pretty well at that point. So So post-construction management is MCM number 5. So we utilize the stormwater ordinance to address stormwater runoff from new development and redevelopment projects. So kind of simplifying that is anything that's any discharge from a site prior to construction should have that same discharge post-construction. So that brings into effect structural BMPs such as ponds, infiltration basins, rain gardens, things like that. So we post-construction flyers are given to contractors and developers along with the permits. Generally something of this nature, there'll be a permit from the city as well as the MPCA. And then we take that information once the BMPs are constructed and we update our BMP database, or our storm sewer system model and mapping system. So when projects are finished, we as-built those. We get the constructed information and then insert them into our mapping database. Pollution prevention, MCM number 6, and housekeeping as well, is preventing or reducing pollutant runoff from the city of New Ulm. So once a year, we inspect 100% of our city outfalls and stormwater ponds. We inspect them for maintenance reasons and to see how efficiently they're working. When we inspect those, we check for displaced riprap, or if there's volunteer vegetation that's growing around them that's causing issues with the pipe or the outfall. Check the pond bottoms to see if the ponds are filling up with sediment, if they need to be cleaned out, and then share that information with maintenance staff and work to rehab those as needed. Next slide here is just some stormwater infrastructure that we have in town. We have a couple outfalls on the top 2 pictures. The one on the right's a little hard to see, but that's the outfall near Center Street at Riverside Park. The college has just a normal looking pond up on campus, but it also serves as a stormwater basin. So it works to filter the water before it's discharged to the city storm sewer system. And then the bottom right picture is the stormwater pond at the Civic Center. So what did we change in 2016? So as mentioned before, in 2016 we adopted or revised our stormwater ordinance. And the revisions in that ordinance just helped the city comply more aligned with the MPCA guidelines and requirements. So it was pretty much language updates and changing items to match the MPCA. And along with the ordinance, we also updated or created a stormwater manual. And the manual contains all of the technical design information for contractors, developers, and homeowners. So moving forward, hopefully we won't have to do ordinance updates as frequently, and we'll be able to change requirements in the stormwater manual as the MPCA guidelines change. That's a little easier for us to adopt changes to the manual than it is to the ordinance. So what to expect in 2017 and beyond. We continue to work with our stormwater coordinators group. They actually put on a couple of those local coordinators and perform stormwater training, which we have staff attend. They do a very good job. We work with the school district for any opportunities for stormwater education within their curriculum. We continue to update and improve our BMP techniques. We continue education on the proper use of those BMPs. We continue to survey our pond BMPs for efficiency. In our construction package this summer, one of the projects is the dredging of the 5th North and Garden Street stormwater pond. And that pond is filled up with quite a bit of sediment. We'll be dredging that out this summer, or might extend into the winter depending on the conditions of the pond. We continue to educate the citizens of New Ulm, really focusing on illicit discharge detection, reporting, and elimination. So what I mean by reporting is there is a form on the city's engineering page. It's a illicit discharge complaint form or reporting form. You can fill it out and then send that either email or mail it to our office, and we can take that form and then investigate what that complaint is. And then we continue to update staff on new training techniques and when they become available. So with that, we'll take this time to read any written questions, which I don't believe we received any this year.
No, we do not have any written comments or questions, Joel.
Okay, and then if there's any questions from those in the audience, we'll take those at this time. Looks like there aren't any in the audience, so we thank you for your time. And if you have any questions in the future pertaining to our stormwater pollution prevention plan, we encourage you to contact the city engineer's office. Thank you.